Joseph Stalin was a political leader and Soviet statesman who served as the premier of the Soviet Union from 1924 to 1953. Stalin's leadership marked a significant era in the history of the Soviet Union, characterized by rapid industrialization, collectivization of agriculture, and the establishment of a brutal totalitarian regime. Stalin was born on the 18th of December, 1878, to a poor Georgian family in the small village of Gori. His father was a cobbler, and his mother was a domestic servant. Stalin faced several challenges during his childhood, including poverty and a turbulent family life. His mother left his abusive father in 1883 and lived a wandering life with young Joseph for several years. He contracted smallpox at the age of 7, which left him with permanent facial scars. In 1894, Stalin enrolled at the Tiflis Theological Seminary, where he studied to become a priest. However, his interest in revolutionary ideas led him to engage in political activities, and join the Marxist Russian Social Democratic Labour Party in 1898. Stalin actively participated in strikes and demonstrations and organized workers' movements. During this time, the authorities attempted to arrest Stalin on a number of occasions, finally succeeding in 1902. He was sentenced to 3 years of exile in Siberia but escaped in 1904 to continue his revolutionary activities. Stalin married his first wife, Ekaterine, in 1906 and she bore him his first son a few months later. Unfortunately, after moving to Baku to evade authorities, Ekaterine died in 1907, leaving Stalin devastated. He returned to his previous revolutionary ways shortly afterwards, leaving his son to be raised by Ekaterine's family. Stalin continued to rise through the Bolshevik ranks and led a gang known for counterfeiting, robbery and kidnapping. He was arrested multiple times over the ensuing years and spent several years in exile. After the 1917 Russian Revolution, Stalin emerged as a prominent figure within the Bolshevik Party led by Vladimir Lenin. He played a crucial role in the Russian Civil War, commanding military forces and suppressing counter-revolutionary movements. Stalin's organizational skills and political acumen helped him climb the ranks, and he became the General Secretary of the Communist Party in 1922. Following Lenin's death in 1924, a power struggle erupted within the Soviet leadership, with Stalin emerging as the ultimate victor by the late 1920s. He implemented policies to consolidate his power and marginalize potential rivals. This included purges, imprisonments, and execution of political opponents, most notably during the Great Purge of the 1930s. Stalin also controlled the media, establishing a cult of personality that portrayed him as an infallible leader and the father of nations. One of Stalin's most significant endeavors was the implementation of rapid industrialization through a series of 5-year plans. These plans aimed to transform the Soviet Union from an agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. As a result of Stalin's plans, industrial output increased dramatically, focusing on heavy industries such as steel, coal, and machinery. However, this rapid industrialization came at great human cost, with millions of workers subjected to harsh conditions and forced labor. Stalin also pursued agricultural collectivization, with the aim of boosting productivity and supporting industrialization. He implemented policies that aimed to eliminate private land ownership and force peasants into collective farms. This process was met with resistance, particularly in Ukraine, where the government's actions led to a man-made famine that resulted in the deaths of millions. Recognizing the looming threat of Nazi Germany, Stalin began reorganizing and strengthening the Soviet military in the late 1930s. He initiated large-scale military reforms, including modernizing equipment, increasing production, and improving training. In August 1939, Stalin signed a non-aggression pact with Germany known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. This agreement allowed the Soviet Union to buy time and fortify its defenses while Hitler focused on his Western campaigns. However, this pact ultimately proved short-lived when Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941. Despite being caught off guard by the German invasion, Stalin quickly rallied the nation to resist the German forces. He delivered impassioned speeches to boost morale and called for a scorched earth policy, where resources were destroyed or relocated to prevent their capture by the enemy. Stalin, along with his top military advisors, played a key role in devising the Soviet war strategy. He made crucial decisions such as relocating factories beyond the reach of German forces and adopting a defensive stance, allowing the harsh Russian winter to work against the invaders. One of the turning points of the war was the Battle of Stalingrad, which lasted from August 1942 to February 1943. Stalin's determination to defend the city became a symbol of Soviet resistance. Under his leadership, the Soviet forces successfully repelled the German army, marking a significant shift in momentum in favor of the Allies. Following the victory at Stalingrad, the Soviet Union launched a massive counteroffensive along the Eastern Front. Stalin, together with his military advisors, coordinated a series of strategic operations, including the Battle of Kursk in July 1943, the largest tank battle in history. The Soviet counteroffensive weakened the German forces, forced them into a defensive position, and steadily pushed them back towards Germany. In 1944 and 1945, the Soviet Union launched a series of offensives that continued to weaken the German forces. Stalin's leadership and the military prowess of the Soviet army led to significant victories, including the liberation of Eastern Europe and the eventual capture of Berlin in May 1945. The fall of Berlin marked a decisive moment in the war, leading to the surrender of Nazi Germany and the end of the war in Europe. Stalin actively participated in the major wartime conferences, including the Tyrant Conference in 1943 and the Yalta Conference in 1945. These meetings with Allied leaders, such as Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt, shaped the post-war world order and solidified the Soviet Union's position on the global stage. Stalin's actions after World War II contributed to the escalating tensions between the Soviet Union and the Western Allies, leading to the onset of the Cold War. The division of Europe and the imposition of communist governments in Eastern Europe sparked fears of Soviet expansionism, and set the stage for ideological and political confrontations between the East and West. Stalin initiated an arms race with the United States, marking the beginning of the nuclear age. The Soviet Union successfully developed its own nuclear weapons, intensifying the global competition between the superpowers. This nuclear capability further heightened the tensions and dangers of the Cold War era. Joseph Stalin died on March 5, 1953. The exact circumstances surrounding his death have been a subject of debate and speculation. He was found unconscious in his bedroom and taken to his country house outside Moscow, where he received medical attention. However, he remained in a coma and eventually died. The official cause of death was reported as a cerebral hemorrhage. After Stalin's death, a period of de-Stalinization began under his successors, marking a shift away from his cult of personality and a reassessment of his policies within the Soviet Union. His legacy is that of a ruthless dictator who was responsible for immense human suffering and repression. His single-minded goal to turn the Soviet Union into a global superpower came at great expense to his people, and is a stark warning of what may happen when power is centralized and the population are controlled by fear. Thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe for more fascinating biographies.